But we had this ROV, and it had a camera on it, and it had 100 feet of tether, and it could go inside the ship, and nobody had ever done that. Confronted with the wreck itself, the fact of it lying on the sea bottom created a sense for us collectively, certainly for me personally, that after that point everything else had to live up to that level of authenticity.
It was an era known for opulence and conspicuous consumption by the haves of society, and there were a lot of haves on Titanic. Some of the richest people in the world, John Jacob Astor, Guggenheim, Molly Brown. Everything was big and ostentatiously so. You couldn't make this movie without showing that.
It was one delight after another. From the boat deck, you could go down the stairs, deck after deck, and end up on that D-deck landing with that beautiful candelabra.
Doesn't this look great?
And the furniture, all faithfully reproduced. The carpets woven by the same company that wove the carpets for the Titanic in 1912. You know, for someone who knows the ship so well that I can explore the ship in my mind, the dreamlike experience of doing this was just beyond almost anything I can describe.
The efforts in wardrobe have been phenomenal, going out and purchasing actual vintage clothing and researching the time.
Everyone combined puts forth an incredible amount of effort to make it perfect. And you want it so badly to be right. You know, when Polly beads a dress, she wants to pick a bead that really existed in 1912.
This is in my memory forever. Forever. This film would be with me forever. It's incredible. Everyone, you know, you touch one and you say, oh, but look at this one. And then you go, oh, look at this one. It's wonderful.
I walked into the dining room for the first time, and of course all the tables are set, and everything's bright and gleaming the way they described it, the people who were there. And all of a sudden, this flood of people in 1912 costume are crossing through the reception room and going into the dining room, and it's like, the passengers are here for dinner. They've arrived. It was just unbelievable.
All the crockery has been made absolutely accurate to the Titanic. The crystal is sensational. The cutlery is all stamped. It's awesome. I mean, it's tremendous. And the caviar was scrummy.
No caviar for me, thanks. Never did like it much.
Tell us of the accommodations in steerage, Mr. Dawson. I hear they're quite good on this ship.
The best I've seen, ma'am. Hardly any rats.
It begins with Ruth going out of her way to trash Jack, and then, quite honestly and without any artifice or pre-thought, Jack winds up turning the table. You know, I wanted the first-class dinner to be very elegant and very correct for the times, the formality.
God, she belongs to Thomas Andrews.
It's all for me.
Just start from the outside and work your way in.
And really just as deadly as watching paint dry. I mean, this is not a world you want Rose to live the rest of her life within.
And the steerage party was just wow!
It was like bumper cars.
It was absolutely mad, and there was this brilliant Irish band called Gaelic Storm, and the Steadicam was in and out and dodging around between people, and it was great. I loved it.
You're amazing, Rose. Hey, 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 hey. Skip and dip and hip and ho. Hey, hey.
I can do it better. Watch me.
Go, go.
He'd been practicing really hard. I was really kind of proud of him. He'd really got the footwork down.
It's just a celebration of being alive, really. And I believe that's what those people were actually like on the ship, because they were going to a new life. They had made a decision to put aside all of their friends and all of their family and leave everything that they ever knew and go to a new place. And it just makes it seem like the idea that you're going to die, that disaster and doom are coming, are so far away and so impossible to conceive. And if you don't start from that place, you'll never understand what it was like to be on that ship.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, you see.
Iceberg, right ahead!
There's a moment of, do I go left or do I go right? I better get this right. The ship only needed to turn another 10 or 15 feet, and it probably would have made it.
Get back!
She goes down by the head. The water will spill over the tops of the bulkheads, from one to the next, back and back. There's no stopping it.
Action! If you were a third-class, steerage male, you stood about a 1 in 10 chance of surviving.
What are we doing, Mommy? When we finish putting first-class people in the boat, they'll be starting with us, and we'll want to be already, won't we?
If you were a first-class female, you stood virtually 100% chance of surviving.
When the ship finally starts to sink, this sort of decision of whether to go with her old lifestyle and be safe or take a huge chance and risk everything that she's ever had comes with it.
Don't you understand? The water is freezing and there aren't enough boats. Not enough by half. Half the people on this ship are going to die.
Not the better half.
So you have these two people from different worlds, very almost fairy tale in its simplicity. They fall in love across all the class boundaries, and then the ship hits an iceberg, and then those class boundaries tend to rip them apart.
In an hour or so, all this will be at the bottom of the Atlantic.
Okay, it's 1:30 in the morning, and what we're seeing here are boats 9, 11, 13, and 15 leaving in pretty quick succession. And for a lot of the steerage passengers, this is their last chance to get off. And these boats are pretty much the most full of all the ones that are leaving the ship.
When you see that fully loaded lifeboat being lowered off a ship 65 feet above the water and jerking down on those ropes, and the tips of those davits flex about 6 inches. They go doink, 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 and it just all seems like it's just going to collapse and fall apart, and it seems so harebrained. And yet our davits were built by the company that built the actual davits on the Titanic.
I don't think you can make something more realistic and detailed than this film, unless you were to actually take the ship and sink it, which we're pretty much doing.
Over the set.
Over the set, Scotty. Okay, we're lowering the set, Josh. We're lowering the set.
The pumps that are making the water are just being aimed by guides. So if they see you're in trouble, they'll